Hi, I'm Javier and I'm out here at the track to get an interval sprint workout in, which I think is the absolute best way to build up your endurance and torch body fat in the quickest time possible. First, we're going to run through a warm-up, which will get you ready to go, and then we're going to get right into the workout, which should only take about 10 to 12 minutes. Now, the only drawback to these types of workouts is that they're very demanding, so you're probably going to want to have a training partner or a coach to help keep you accountable. All right, let's get to it.
We're getting the warm-up started with some butt kickers. These are just a good way to fire up the hamstrings a little bit, and you're also going to get a dynamic stretch to the quads. And on the way back, we're getting some high knees. Very common drill for all types of athletes. These just fire up the hip flexors. And now I'm hitting some walking lunges. Okay, the main point of the walking lunges is to loosen up my hip flexors. For me personally, my hip flexors tend to get very tight if I don't stay on top of stretching them. So I especially want to make sure to loosen them up a bit before a sprinting workout. And even before just regular weight room workouts, if I'm doing squats, if I'm doing Olympic lifts, lunges and stuff like that, I always do some extra stretching for the hip flexors. Alright, now I'm doing some forward leg swings. This provides a dynamic stretch of the hamstrings. And important technique point with these is to make sure you actively pull down the leg towards the ground. Don't just let it fall towards the ground. And you're going to strike the track with the ball of your foot, okay? Now some high skips. I just use these to kind of fire up the legs a little bit. Sometimes I just do drills just because they feel good, no particular purpose. Now this next drill is a drill from track athletes, A-skips. Now you notice my left foot is coming across my body a little bit. It should not be doing that. It should be just coming straight up and down. So next time out, I make sure to correct those when I'm doing them on my own. Now some backwards hip opener skips. Somebody might have a name for these already. I'm pretty sure somebody does, but I'm just going to call them that for now. And I got a little burst at the end there. I'm just getting warmed up. And now the last drill I'm doing is bounding. So bounding is basically just an exaggerated running stride where you're trying to get a lot of air time with each stride, okay? And you're really giving a strong extension off that push leg, okay? I find that it just helps to open up my stride and, really get me ready for the sprints that are coming up. So that's it for my warm-up. I didn't take too much time to rest in between the drills since I'm just following this up with a short interval workout. If I was concerned more so with doing a speed type workout, then I'd probably rest a little longer to make sure I don't get myself tired in between the drills. I want to address a topic that I don't think gets nearly enough discussion, which is the difference between running on a track and running on a treadmill. Since I know a lot of you like to run your intervals on a treadmill, but to me, the running on the track is far superior. Number one, you recruit your hamstrings much more when you're running on solid ground because the the ground isn't moving backwards under your feet. You have to propel yourself forward more. And I actually find that it's a little easier on my joints running on the track because I don't have as much downward impact compared to when I'm running on a treadmill. It just doesn't feel like a natural stride to me.
Go.
And in addition to that, you're never going to be able to exactly match your running speed by setting it on a treadmill if it's a motorized treadmill. But obviously, whereas when you're on the ground, if you run faster or slower, you're accelerating or decelerating at a certain pace. You don't need to worry about making any adjustments. And also, like as in this workout, I'm running shuttles, so I have a change of direction in there. That change of direction makes a big difference in the effect of the sprint. If you were to try this workout, instead of going about 50 meters down and 50 meters back, if all you did was run 100 meters straight and then take your rest, it's a much easier workout. So that's another way you can experiment with your intervals, breaking them up into one long distance or multiple relays where you go back and forth for a set period before you get your rest time. Now that being said, getting outside and running is not the only way that you have to do interval training. Using a stationary bike, a rower machine, battle ropes, I guess even swimming, if you're a confident swimmer, could be really good ways to do intervals as well.
5 seconds.
For me personally, I find that, especially with a stationary bike, battle ropes, and the rower, that I tend to fatigue more quickly from a muscular standpoint as opposed to my lung capacity being the limiting factor. That might be because sprinting outside more heavily involves the full body, so it's just more taxing trying to get enough oxygen to the muscles, whereas the other movements are, even though they do involve the whole body, they're a little bit more challenging from a muscular endurance and like a lactate threshold standpoint. So experiment with both of them. They both have their benefits, and it's definitely good to use different modalities to cross-train and not get those overuse injuries, and just to change things up so you don't get too bored of your routine. Now, if your motivation for adding interval sprints into your training routine is primarily fat loss, then I can't stress enough that you must get your diet together if you're going to expect to see any kind of results. Okay, it doesn't matter how much you're training, how many calories you're trying to burn. If your diet is not good, you will not see any appreciable results, and you'll be putting in way more effort than you need to. I mean, you can actually easily lose body fat without doing any working out at all. It's not what I recommend, but it's possible. But trying to do the reverse, meaning working out but just eating a very poor diet, is not really going to work. Some people it might work a little bit, but most people it's probably not even going to work at all. So make sure you get that down first. Now, assuming the diet is good, I recommend adding in these sprints at the end of the day if you are doing other training before them, or you can just do them as a session on their own. So let's say, for example, if you have a regular strength training routine in the gym using basic traditional free weight program, or maybe you're doing something more calisthenics based, or just any kind of resistance training. It doesn't really matter what it is. One option is just to add on these short interval sprints right immediately after you finish that first workout. So let's say I do a lower body workout in the gym, I head outside to the track, loosen up a little bit, and then get right to the workout. It should only take about 10 to 12 minutes to do one of these workouts, so you can easily tack it on once you're done with your lifting. On the other hand, if you have the luxury to be able to train
5 seconds.
multiple sessions within a
5
day,
seconds.
it's actually even
Go.
better if you give yourself some time to rest and then come back to the track, get the interval workout in, maybe get some good stretching in afterwards. After doing these sprints is a really good time to do stretching, assuming you rehydrate. Just since your body will be very warmed up, it'll be nice and loose, and it can really help you be able to get deeper into those stretches. I wouldn't recommend doing these sprints first though in your routine, simply because you'll probably just be too wiped out, too tired to get an effective workout afterwards. You know, especially if you're trying to work on
5
building
seconds.
strength, building power, speed, you're doing plyometrics.
Go.
Definitely do those first before you do an interval sprint workout like this. In this particular workout, I'm running 50 meters down and 50 meters back with a 25-second rest in between. And that works out to about a 1-to-1 work-to-rest ratio by the time I get to my later sprints where I'm really starting to slow down and starting to get tired. I actually meant to do only 12 times down and back, but I did an extra rep just because I lost count, but at least I got the 12 in. Now, an interesting thing I found is that when you're keeping the rest intervals fairly short, like a 1-to-1 work to rest or even less than that, it's really more challenging on the lung capacity than it is on the muscles. Okay, so basically what I'm saying is like the limiting factor was my ability to get my breath back, not necessarily that my legs were getting too fatigued. Now, if you want to shift that to putting a little more stress on the muscular system, adding more recovery time in between the reps will allow you to maintain a higher speed for each sprint, and you'll also be putting more demand on the muscular system. So interestingly, even though keeping a very short rest interval is very tough to stick with, to be able to like keep running those sprints, it's actually a little easier on the body as far as the stress you put on the joints and the ligaments and so on, just because you simply can't maintain that level of force production for each rep. So not only are these sprints a good way to build your endurance in a short amount of time, they're actually not very hard on the body either. Even when you compare them to doing a long duration run, like you go out and you run 8-10 miles, your heart rate will never be getting that high if you just are running at a steady pace the whole time, and you put your knees and your ankles and your hips through a lot more impacts over the course of the run. Whereas in this one, it's very short, intense. The running stride for a sprint puts less stress on the knees and ankles, I find, than running than a jogging stride. And you challenge your heart rate and your lung capacity much more, because you never really reach that same percentage of your maximal capacity if you're just doing a long run. I'm not saying long runs don't have any benefit. I do go on them occasionally, but it really does not make up a big percentage of my training. I find that I can stay cardiovascularly fit just by doing short workouts. I don't really need to do long distance stuff unless the only time I'd really recommend that you do that is if you just enjoy that type of exercise. It's a form of stress relief for you, or you're training for a specific long distance running event.
That was 12, right?
I think so. I haven't been counting like the amount of the
Are you
reps.
still rolling?
Yeah, I'm still rolling. You got
yeah.
5 seconds left. I don't know.
No, that's 12.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think I would have made it if Iggy wasn't here. Halfway through, I wanted to stop, but whew, it's only a couple more minutes, so may as well get it in.